For me to live is Christ, to die is gain. None of these things move me, neither count I my life dear to myself, that I might finish my race with joy. He said in Philippians 1:12 that my imprisonment is actually led to the furtherance of the gospel. In other words, what the enemy sent to incarcerate him, incarcerate his dreams, incarcerate his hope, incarcerate his vision, what the enemy used against him is actually leading to the furtherance of the gospel. Come here a second, bruh. Do you know that when Paul was in prison, they used to rotate prison guards on him in 4-hour shifts, and they would chain him to Paul like this. And instead of getting discouraged in rat-infested, stinky prisons, instead of getting encouraged, one day Paul looked at the guard that was chained to him, and he said, you know what? I think I'm going to write a letter and a chapter to the church of Ephesus. And I think I'm going to put on the whole armor of God. I'm going to put on the breastplate of righteousness, have on the belt of truth, have my feet shod with the gospel of peace, use the shield of faith and the sword of the Spirit. In other words, Paul said, you know what? I think I'm going to be dressed to kill. Where did that come from? He said, my imprisonment has actually led to the furtherance of the gospel. Instead of getting bummed out about being in jail and being chained to these guys in 4-hour shifts, he used it to coin one of the greatest metaphors and pictures that we have in the scriptures. Thank you, brother. What caused him to do that? His attitude. Do you know, time doesn't allow, but if you all would look at me, this was Jerusalem, Paul's home base, everybody. And this was Rome. This is where he was trying to get. So Jerusalem was here, Rome was here. Paul, it should have been a straight line from here to here. Paul wanted to get to Rome. Rome was his American Idol. Rome was his pinnacle. Rome was his New York City. If he could get to Rome, that's where he could get the biggest bang for the buck. So everything in him wanted to get to Rome, and everything logically said, well, just do a beeline to Rome. But do you know, on his way to Rome, he got distracted, and he ended up going to a place called Macedonia? And do you know, out of his frustration of not being able to get to Rome, do you know what he did? He wrote him a letter. You know what that letter's called? The book of Romans. The book of Romans. I mean, we're talking about the Magna Carta of the New Testament, the book of Romans. He let his frustration, instead of letting his frustration and not being able to get there, he redeemed the time. He bought back the opportunity, and he wrote the book of Romans. Do you know, while he was in Macedonia, do you know what else he wrote? The book of Philippians. So if Paul hadn't been delayed, you wouldn't know that you could do all things through Christ who strengthens you, because that wouldn't be in the Bible. If Paul hadn't been delayed, you wouldn't know that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because he wouldn't have written that, because he wouldn't have written the book of Philippians. Do you know, if he hadn't been delayed, you wouldn't even know about the whole armor of God, because he wouldn't have written the book of Ephesians. He said, my imprisonment, the distractions, the things that the enemy used against me, I actually use those for the furtherment of the gospel.